Start rate at 7. Sure, go that way.
Wow.
I did not see a human coming. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see it coming. I was just twirling around like something.
Give him shit, yeah. Don't let him get away with that.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the semifinals here at the Dartmouth Curling Club for the 2018 Deloitte Tankard. Presented proudly on Bell 5 TV1. I'm Selena Thompson, joined by Liz Garnett. Hi, Liz.
Hello.
We've got Team Thompson, Team Stuart Thompson, the only Thompson team left. He defeated his brother Kendall this afternoon in the second of his 2 tiebreakers so far today. He's taken on Mark Dacey. Dacey with the second place finish after the round robin. Through to the semifinal, there were 3 teams tied for third place. Chad Stevens, who lost in the early morning tiebreaker to this Thompson rink. And then, of course, the second tiebreaker, which was the team with the advantage going into that round with the 1 tiebreaker game to play. That was Team Kendall Thompson, and suffered. It's a good game, but a loss at the end of the day to younger brother Stuart. So these guys will be on their 3rd game of the day. We'll see how they fare for that, and taking on this Dacey rink, who have played with 3 for a lot of the year. Steve Burgess at second, coming in for tournaments, but have had a wonderful week so far. And so we're looking forward to a great game here. And as some of you may know, Stuart and Mark, the 2 skips, actually played together for a couple years, and second place, so runner-up finish. What would that have been? 4 years ago in the 2014 or 2013 season. I've got it written down here, but
I was thinking 3 years ago, but I think you're right. I think it was 4 years. Yeah, very close game, losing to Jamie Murphy on the last rock.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. And then, of course, Stuart last year, runner-up to, once again, that Team Murphy. It's been 2 times he's lost in the final to Jamie Murphy. And that's who these teams are vying to play against in the final tomorrow at 9 a.m. So here to start us off, we've already had the Team Thompson first stone. They're throwing the blue rocks. This is Luke Saunders. Team Thompson with the yellow. Team Dacey with the blue rocks. This is Luke Saunders. And the rest of this Dacey rink, they curl out of the Mayflower Curling Club. Second, Steve Burgess. He's on the left. Third is Andrew Gibson, longtime lead for Mark, and part of that Brier Championship team in 04. And then, of course, well-known Mark Dacey. Pretty clutch. I've seen him make some really nice shots this week. So I think we're in for a good one. And we're glad to have everybody joining us. And if you want to come watch, you can still come at the Dartmouth Curling Club, and the finals tomorrow as well. Women's at 2.
Men's at 9 a.m.
Men's at 9 a.m. And we'll keep you up to date. There is the women's semifinal as well. If you want to hop over on the other sheet, you got Dan and John on the mics. That's Jill Brothers, the tiebreaker winner, taking on Kristen McDermott, and they're vying to play Marianne Arsenault in the final. So 4 big teams left in these 2 tournaments, the Scotties and, of course, the Deloitte Tankard. That's our feature game. So what do you think we're going to see here today, Liz?
I think we're going to see a tight battle. It'll be interesting to see if the Thompson rinks fatigue from their 3-game day comes into play here. Coming in here and playing Mark, who is fresh, hasn't played since in about 24 hours, really.
Yeah, last night
lots of time
defeated
for
Chad
rest.
Stevens. Yep. But that's the long road to get here. When you finish 4-3, there was a three-way tie, like I mentioned, and Mark escaped that at 5-2.
I do think we're going to see an aggressive game, though. Both these teams, maybe it has something to do with Stewart playing with Mark for a few years, but they both seem to have a similar style of aggressive play.
A little bit more of a chess match than maybe we're used to seeing, although there's been a lot of rocks in play, I've noticed, in the men's tournament this week. We started on Tuesday. There was a 7-game round robin, so the top 8 teams in the province all vying for spots. And at the end of the day, 5 teams made playoffs. 3 were the target for playoffs, but with that tie break, there were actually 5 in play. And so now the 3 teams left, Thompson, Dacey, and then, of course, Murphy into the final.
Having a relatively clean end here, but with that center guard still available, someone could get something going.
Dacey earned hammer and choice of rock color with their finish ahead of Team Thompson. So the early advantage with the last rock goes to Dacey. But like you said, a clean end. The one center guard in play, I think both skips will be eyeing it. We're just seeing a series of hit and stays here, but eventually someone's going to try and make that move.
I think they have been potentially trying to flop behind that guard, and it might just not be working out for them at this point.
Yeah, you can't risk over curling and wicking on the guard, which we'll see Travis maybe is going to end up with here.
He's going to knock that blue stone. How far back? Can he get that out? Wow. He'll remove that blue stone, so all that remains is the center guard that is now more of a corner guard.
It's interesting that we've seen all week, and the players have been commenting that the speed has been great. 15 seconds hog to hog, kind of at a minimum. And with these rocks being fairly reactive.
Might see a slightly different ice conditions here with only 2 games playing at a time. We might see that affect the Dacey team a little bit since this is their first game of the day. It may take them an end or 2 to adjust.
And with the peel of that guard, they weren't happy. It was tight to the rings, and it wasn't a Dacey color. It was a yellow Thompson stone. So the peel, and so maybe we'll see a blank end. I was maybe wishful thinking to go around that guard, but when it was pushed over a little tighter to the rings, Mark's not happy with it. So we just got Andrew. Actually, no, that would have been Steve there to peel it out. We are on a mate stones now, though. Colton Steele.
That's a big change for the Dacey team this year, having Andrew Gibson move from being the longtime lead. I think he did play second for a couple years back then, too, to the 3rd position. Seems to be working out pretty well for them.
And I didn't introduce earlier, but I've mentioned a couple names now. So the Team Thompson rink, we were led off by Taylor Ardeal. I'm sure Taylor's mother, Lynn, is watching, and she loves to hear us say hello.
Hey,
so we will
Lynn.
say hi. Second, Travis Coulter. Third, Colton Steele. He's up now and rocking the blue pants. And then Skipper Stewart. If you haven't caught any of the other games, the regulation length is 10 ends, and teams have 38 minutes of thinking times each to complete their half of the game. Both of these teams, a couple times now, have gotten into a little bit of concern about the halfway mark with their time clocks. They always sorted it out and played things a little quicker, but both really knowledgeable about the angles and not scared to play with a lot of stones in play. We're not seeing that this end. Maybe a little bit of nervousness is coming in here because both teams all throughout the week were very aggressive in the first end, with or without hammer.
Just exchanging open hits here. So first of skip stones for our first end.
We've seen the conditions result in some rocks tracking a little bit. The center line certainly has movement across, so we'll see the tight ice and a little bit softer weight for most hits, especially if it's just a single rock being removed outside of the center line. And these teams, of course, Stuart's happy to have that one go near the center line and give it a chance to take off on Mark, but Mark's certainly been taking note of these conditions and won't let that fool him.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a tough spot when you're flirting with the center line there, because that seems to be one of the only places that the rocks really do aggressively curl.
Yeah, we saw that in the tiebreaker this morning, actually. It was Jill Brothers and Teresa Breen, and Jill Brothers with a commanding lead for most of the game and actually gave up a steal of 2 in the 10th to result in a tie and an extra end. And it was just that issue, that center line. She didn't want to toss it. She watched a bunch of peels track that line and just got her last rock nose hit started a little bit tight. I was asking her after, what happened? And she said, well, I watched them track and I just threw it a little tighter and it took off and rolled too far. But Mark doesn't have that issue there. Shooter will roll to the side of the house. Gives him a good chance at the blank that we know he'll be going for once Stuart makes this hit. And there you see the broom right in the center of the rock with Colton holding the broom when Stuart throws. So he'll look to stick around on this. They're calling, I think, pretty tight ice. Teams wouldn't have necessarily thrown out this far in practice, so it'll be a little bit fresh, perhaps, and maybe curl, but they can certainly control it with sweeping.
Here's Stuart Thompson's final stone of the first end. Just trying to remove that blue stone from the house.
Nice nose hit, doesn't roll out, so Mark will have to make the shot for the blank. And you see there maybe 1.5 inches more ice than Stuart took. That's just to make sure that they can get the shooter to roll out. There's the Luke Saunders patented sweeping the path.
Aggressive cleaning techniques here by Team Dacey.
Everyone I tend to just walk up and down the throwing path and just put the broom back and forth. But Luke really runs up and down the path. And
can never keep the path too clean in a provincial semifinal.
So here we go. Mark Dacey looking for the blank in 1.
Sweeper's on it right away. Sweeper, I should say. It looks like he'll stuff the blank, so that's going to be a 1 for Mark Dacey in the first end here. He's not going to be too happy with that, but it's absolutely not the end of the world being a 10-end game. He'll have lots of time, lots of opportunities with Hammer to score multiple points later on.
So Luke will start us off this time. Luke took some time off. He actually played with Stuart in the juniors, their championship team of 2013, where they placed 3rd at nationals, and then took a break. He actually didn't play in his last year of juniors, took a break, went to Tennessee to play tennis, and he's back now. And was curling last year, mostly as a spare, and then got picked up by the Dacey rink for this season. Seems to be a good fit, at least in terms of their performance here. He has a little bit of a reputation to uphold. Maybe doesn't share the last name, but certainly is well known as our local legend, Colleen Jones's son. Brother Zach doesn't curl, I don't think, so all the pressure's on Luke.
No, I
right
don't.
now.
I believe you're correct. It's all on him to keep the family legacy going.
Of course, Colleen's not the only curler in the family aside from Luke. His dad, Scott, is also a wonderfully experienced curler. I just know he hasn't been to 21 national events, so or 21 Scotties, sorry. definitely would never have been to 21 Scotties, but
No.
not he hasn't been to 21 Briars either. That sits with Colleen. So we see the corner guard.
Yeah, we're shaping up for a good end here. 2 good shots on first lead stones. So just throwing up the center guard here, I believe.
Yeah, Luke put a nice one right in the top 4 foot. You're always careful on those. You don't want them deep in the back of the rings. It really just doesn't set up well. You'd like to have a nice scoring or a steal potential and then guard it. Some teams put the guard up first, but the chances are that the other team will come around your guard. So a lot of teams put the stone in the rings and then wait and see. Stuart put up the corner guard. It's a little bit of a tight port to make the come around the corner, so he's calling the freeze now.
Yep, that rock is almost completely buried. But this is definitely the easier turn to try to get a good freeze on that top 4 foot stone.
And you can see there how close this Yellowstone is to the line. They're sweeping it for line, but not too hard. There really is the best finish as at the end of the throw.
Looks like they might have overswept this one a bit. Perfect weight. Might have just liked for that to curl a touch more, but a good shot.
Yeah, you can see there from the hack, it's mostly visible. A little risky to play the big hit this early, so Steve Burgess, second stones, he's up now. He'll just play that freeze as well. Try and get this one a little better tuck. So we're looking for maybe a few feet less weight and get extra curl. Sweepers can help it guide in toward the center line at the end of its path.
If Steve can get in to the center line side corner of this Yellowstone, the angles are going to be really, really nice for Team Dacey in the event that we get some upweight shots coming down the ice to blast things out of the way.
So again, that one didn't quite. I thought Steve's would curl a bit more. He's a lefty, and sometimes the lefties in turns compared to the right-handers out turns. Of course, it's the same type of stone, but most curlers in turns tend to curl a little more, just a softer release. But it got up to nose, and with a little weight, bumped that Yellowstone out. So if anything gets raised into the rings right now, it's probably the Yellowstone that's going to get lost.
Yeah.
So Stuart won't be happy with the angles and the setup here. Peel is definitely an option.
Yeah, he's really got no choice but to try to rejig the angles of the stones in the house, because I think he does recognize how vulnerable that yellow is currently. So he will elect for the peel. And
this is how early the ends can be determined. I always bring up, usually know how things are going. If both teams are playing fairly equally and you have something at lead that doesn't quite make you happy, well, it's time to bail. So that's Travis Coulter opening things up, and Mark will just ask for Steve to replace that center guard. Wants this one a little higher.
Indicating that he wants to guard the shot stone closest to the button.
You can see if everything stays as is, and they elect to guard, Team Dacey elects to guard the other blue stone, there'll be a delicate but makeable tap for 2 for Stuart, so that's why you're guarding the shot stone, and the yellow is really protecting the top blue.
Sweepers here calling that they thought this stone was heavy.
That means it'll curl more at the end, so they're just going to sweep it to get it in the rings. But this is going to set up a big weight hit here, maybe even get a roll behind the corner guard.
That is quite nicely lined up for Team Dacey. Really hitting anywhere, anything of that top blue stone will remove that yellow rock on the 4 foot. So it looks like Stuart is thinking about just hitting that blue shot stone and rolling to the side of the house.
Would you ever? I just think it looks so natural to kind of roll to the corner, maybe lose one of the blues and use that corner guard. This is a tough shot here. You keep 2 yellows in the rings, if
you'd
so.
Lose the yellow, though, eh?
Oh, you would definitely lose the yellow.
I don't think he wants to lose the yellow at this point. Although, yeah,
I
those
kind of
blues
see
are
the yellow
very.
as a lost cause right
I know.
now.
I agree.
You may as well do it versus your opponent. At least have a Yellowstone be the one in the front. But
Yeah, and the blues are really bunched up. There's big opportunities to remove multiple stones with one shot.
this is just soft weight though here on Travis's second. So they're just making sure it's by the top one and then can roll it over. And Mark isn't really going to want to ignore it because they're sitting two. He could hit the shot stone and probably get shot out of it as well if he does the blue,
Yeah.
yellow.
I think so.
But doing that opens up some sort of big weight shots. So I think he's just going to reserve that hit and try and sit second shot, second, third, and fourth here with an easy weight hit. And this is Andrew Gibson.
Again with the delicate weight. We'll get that tiny flop on the inside. The thing to look out for here is that if Stuart Thompson just noses that blue stone, there's going to be a pretty natural double for Mark Dacey's team.
So I think we're seeing the method to his madness here, which
Yeah.
you and I definitely didn't pick up on. It's going to go that way part of this game, folks. Stuart and Mark think probably 5 shots in advance, which most of us have a tough time doing. So here is a big weight hit and flat roll, and to try and chip that yellow stone over to the side and actually fix that lineup of blue, blue, yellow.
Sweeper's not touching this one. So he will just nose that stone. There will be a double here for Mark Dacey.
I think he's looking at what he wants to do. Does he want to play it on the top? If he plays the natural double, it's bail time for
Absolutely.
Team Thompson. So he's trying to keep the force here.
If he plays that natural double, depending on how much weight he throws, there could possibly be some sort of triple for the Stuart Thompson team as well.
Yeah, he's looking at hitting this on the left side of center. And if it's thin enough, you might lose your shooter, but if it's thin enough, you can actually get that top blue stone to go onto the other yellow as well, the side yellow. This one's curling early, though.
Luke Saunders on this stone the entire way down the ice, really trying to keep it straight here. So they will sit shot stone as well as third and fourth.
If you nose double this, Team Thompson should be a chance for 2, though.
Yep. Looks like he just wants to hit it just on the right side of nose so he can get a slight flop there. Can't be too far wide, though, or else he will just jam it.
Stuart's is indicating he could achieve the same result sitting 2 by hitting the shot stone and rolling over, but I think that's just too much of a tough shot to risk.
I think it's not worth it. You can remove 2 of these blues and get the same result. I think it's probably an easier shot than going after that.
So is this an in turn or an out turn?
It's
you don't really know. It's an in turn.
Right off, they're saying.
This one's wide.
Well, that
interesting.
works, doesn't it? Interesting outcome there.
That was definitely not how that shot was called, but one of the benefits of playing with Colton Steele is he was having a chat with someone earlier, and they suggested, I was asking how fast can Colton throw the rock, and he can throw a sub 5 second hog to hog. That was not. I think the fastest is around a 4. I know he can throw a sub 5.
Really? Whoa.
Bill was telling me. Bill McPhee, their 5th man. Anyway, I was asking, and so some people were thinking, yeah, there's probably not too many people in the world that can throw that kind of weight. It's a select few.
So Mark will be happy that these stones ended up on the same side of the house. He'll have a long double, but it's a double nonetheless.
The beauty of that weight there was all the blues were removed, even though Colton didn't hit the top stone exactly where he intended to.
Sweeper's not touching this one either. So he will just remove the top stone and give Stuart an opportunity to sit 2 and hopefully not leave a double. I think he'll come around that corner guard.
Yes, absolutely.
Heard him say he just wants to tuck a half of this stone. Meaning tuck a half of it behind the corner guard.
That should eliminate any chance of a double. Higher in the house would make a double impossible. I think we just see Mark not take any kind of risk of trying to go after the shot stone that this one should be. He'll just hit the back one. It's too early in the game for Skips to play. I say they play aggressively, but they're going to be a little cautious here. They'd like to not have anything get away from them.
Sweepers right off of this one might be coming a little bit deep. Doesn't look like it's quite curling as much as they'd hoped. So if he does come behind the tee line, he's going to give.
So there's an out for Mark, but it's a risky out.
It's a risky out.
He just watched Stewart's rock come down. He's probably going to go for it, though. We know Mark.
Yeah, this is, yeah, I would not be shocked. Problem is he has an opportunity to freeze to that back 4-foot stone, which would, if he makes it well, would force Stewart to draw to the full 4-foot for his single point. If he were to miss this, he will be giving Stewart an opportunity for a 3-point end. But he's going to go for it.
It's a calculated risk. He's going to probably throw the exact same path. I think it looks like similar ice to Stewart's, maybe a little more ice. Mark might throw this lighter, and we saw even in the last end his hit over curled to stick around, so doesn't throw him quite as positive on the intern side as Stewart.
No, and if he airs on the light side, as long as he's partially tucked behind that guard and out counting that back 12 stone, he'll be giving Stewart an opportunity for 2. But I'd say that they're definitely erring on the side of light for this shot.
Sweepers want to go for weight. Well, now they say it's good, so that sounds positive.
They're really trying to drag this one.
So doesn't quite make it to the shot stone. He'll leave the shot for 2, but that was what was going to happen if he hit the open one, so it was worth a try.
So Stewart will just need to bite a little less than a piece of the 4 to score his deuce here in N2. He did just throw this exact shot, really.
Yeah, slightly different path. This one won't curl quite as much. That should be plenty of ice. There's not going to be any risk of running into that blue stone. It's hard enough to get them to curl around the guards, so if you give that extra ice and give it to your sweepers, that's always the important thing with throwing last shot. That
sweepers cleaning this one look like they may want to back off of it. I think this is going to have to sit. Ooh, and it will just go about a foot too far, so just a 1 for Stewart here in the second end.
We'll just be talking to Travis there. Stewart probably tried to throw similar weight to his first, would have conferred with his sweepers. They're the ones following all the rocks down, so they would have taken a look at what Mark had thrown in that same path, and would have been an educated guess. Very similar to what they would have thrown for draw to the button, so maybe we're seeing the conditions pick up a little bit, or sometimes you just throw it a little heavy. So tie game. Dacey with hammer and 3. We got a game on our hands, folks. Just as Taylor Stone is coming down the ice here, I'll give you an update in the women's game if you're not flipping back and forth. You can also watch the scores on nscurl.com. It was a blank in the first. Kristen McDermott blanked, and she is currently facing
just 2, I believe.
Two brothers stones in the 4 foot. So this is a draw to the 4 foot. Doesn't look
Draw
like
to
an
the
easy
button,
one.
really.
It's right to the button. Oh, sorry. I meant button.
I'm not sure. That looks like a really tough draw. I'm not sure if she can even get her one, but.
So center guard up from Team Thompson. And like I said in the last end, typically when the center guard goes up, the other team will come around it. They don't always play the corner guard. These two teams often do. Most won't. These two will. But we have the come around from Luke. So again, I think that's just indication maybe little, I don't want to say nerves, but just a little bit of caution in this game compared to the round robin. This is do or die. Loser is out. Winner on to the final.
Taylor Ardeal just trying to freeze on top of the stone thrown by Luke Saunders. Sweepers are really going hard on this one now.
The line's good if the weight's there. They just have to get it there.
Just need to drag it a little bit further. He will make the 12 foot. Won't be frozen to that stone.
Still a good outcome. When you're thinking about, we talk about when you think about ways to miss shots. If you're going to have a tendency to be one way or the other on certain shots, on a shot like that, being light's okay. Of course, you don't want a high guard or anything, but we're talking a couple feet. So Mark's saying, well, you didn't really make your shot. I'm just going to draw open and make you make the difficult ones. Luke's first stone is shot, and now he's going to put one in the back of the house. Out of harm's way for the time being. This is always an interesting call. You see this a lot later in the game.
Drawing to the open side.
Yeah, when a team is up and they don't really want to make any plays around the center. So it's interesting to call this, especially if it doesn't go deep enough. May see Stewart go after it and just try and, as you play sequential hits, the stones creep a little further and further up and eventually go for that roll into the center area. So Luke would have wanted that one deeper. Colton working this one to keep the line straight. They don't actually, didn't want to make the big roll, but if it's going to start curling, you may as well,
go
try and go for it a bit and keep it a little more flat of a roll.
Didn't quite get there, so they will make this roll a little bit easier for Mark Dacey.
Yeah, and Mark's saying you can roll behind the guard, but you can roll big too. And that kind of achieves the same thing he was attempting for Luke's second shot, which is to put a stone in the back of the rings on the side.
Here's Steve Burgess with his first stone of the third end. This one's really curling now. Looks like they are going to get the big roll. So Mark Dacey will sit 2 here with hammer.
It's interesting that the last 3 teams standing, I was just looking and going to mention how these teams qualified for the event. Top 2 teams in the province for the men's and women's qualify by virtue of their CTRS points standing. That's the Canadian Team Ranking Systems. So the first spot went to Jamie Murphy, who is in the final, and the second qualifying spot went to Team Thompson. If there was a third qualifying spot based on points, it would have gone to Dacey. So the top 3 CTRS points teams are the 3 teams in the final, which would be indicative of their amount of play and practice and experience, all rolled into to a points system, I suppose.
This rock looks like it may be tracking a little bit wide. It's got to curl up to stick in the house. And it will finish enough at the end.
So same ideas on the other side. Stewart's looking right now at giving up 2 points if he doesn't make a good shot at some point here in this end. A good shot or two. It's so hard. You see the rocks start to curl and you want to call that sweep early, but good patience there. Colton a little hesitant to call the sweep. Stewart being a little more patient. Gets a nice roll, mostly buried.
They just watched that Steve Burgess stone finish quite nicely there, so I think they were worried it might jump on them a little bit. But yep, they will lie about a little less than half buried. So Mark's going to try a backline touch shot to just punch the stone out of the back of the house in once.
Did he say backline or hackline? I'm just joking.
Oh,
it's an inside joke if you've been listening all week.
I created a monster.
In any case, this should just be enough weight to push that yellow stone through the rings.
It is tracking quite wide here on the 4-foot line. With the right weight, it should finish up. Stuart Thompson trying to get this blue stone out of the house, and he will. So that's a bit of a miss there by Andrew Gibson.
Yeah, I think Andrew must have just thrown a little bit too much weight. They were hoping to keep the shooter over on the side, and with backline, you really shouldn't be able to have your shooter roll out and the hit stone roll out. So probably just threw a little extra on that one.
It's a good opportunity for Stuart Thompson and I believe Colton Steele throwing the stone to come around back four, be buried behind those staggered centerline stones. Definitely wants this to be shot stone when the dust settles.
They have to be patient on this line. It'll curl more with draw weight, although I think the sweepers are moving pretty quickly still. Will it stop in the back 4 foot?
Tons of room around the staggered stones.
That one's just a little heavy, goes to the back 12 foot. So Mark's sitting one. He's going to look at the angles there. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and Stewart may have to make a play on that shot stone. It gets pretty dangerous to play that freeze game, although it seems to be a nice path coming around there if he can get shot. So Mark's just going to draw open here. He's really favoring this type of shot, really trying to secure the 2 points, and especially after the unforced error there in the second end with the single point, he can have a good chance to go up 2 here.
This one's really finishing on line. Looks like it might slide a bit deep. Colton Steele's going to try to get that back as far as he possibly can. So that will slide too far for a second shot anyway. Could still come into play, but...
Yeah, if that shot was made, it would be tough for Stewart to not give up 2 points, but the yellow at the back that Colton threw, I said an unforced error. Well, there was another one from Andrew, so a chance to come around and start to shut down that scoring area. We talk about this a lot, and what shutting down the scoring area means is limiting where your opponent can actually score points. So as long as this yellow stone the Stewart's throwing is somewhere in the 4 foot, it's probably going to make it hard, and if it's shot stone especially, hard for Mark to score a couple, because he'll have to add a couple more of the blue stones into that 4 foot area, and he doesn't have too many more options to do it, only 2 in fact. This is Stewart's first skip stone of this end.
Sweeper's calling top 4 weight. I think they're going to want it to be a little bit deeper than that, so they're going to have to try to drag it.
This one's taking off early.
This one's bending a bit on them. He will wreck on the front here.
The good thing is that may have promoted the other yellow, the tapped yellow, to
third shot.
third shot position.
I believe it did.
And the thrown rock is still promotable. So Mark's team still sitting a single. Has to be careful where he puts the stone, though, to not give Stewart a shot, actually. And I think he's recognizing now he can't go to the wings because Stewart might play that little tap, make it hard to score. So you try and guarantee your score here. But if this is placed well, it could be a chance for 3.
Yep, he's going to want to be pretty open here. He'll give Stewart an opportunity to hit it, but that back 12-foot yellow stone, there's a risk of a jam on that stone. If Mark can place his rock properly, might be hard for Stewart to remove.
And I never finished updating the viewers there, but in the Brothers McDermott game, McDermott had a very tough draw. I don't even know if it was there. So it was a steal of 1 for Jill Brothers. She leads 1-0 after 2 ends. It's way easier when there's only 2 games on the sheet to give the updates.
Yep.
And you tend to know when there's a big shot being played because everyone here at the Dartmouth Curling Club will lean in and you hear the audibles as well.
This is Mark Dacey here with his first of the third end. Sweepers on this early.
They had to be careful. Both teams have been playing around.
Ooh, and he will get by those.
The intern side. That's a beautiful shot.
Very
well
nice
judged,
shot by
well
Mark
thrown.
Dacey.
So can you freeze down to that? This is a tough shot. You can't roll off. The error would be to be a little bit light, but hopefully be second shot for Team Thompson. Otherwise, they are going to face a potential 3.
And if he can't freeze right to the nose of this, as we were just talking about, that would shrink the scoring area for Mark to pretty much. He'd have to be almost touching the button with his stone. So this is a good opportunity for Stewart to limit the damage here. If he were to flop off of this, be slightly heavy and chap off this stone, he would be giving Mark an opportunity for 3.
So this is Stewart's last. The sweepers would have followed Mark's stone, known the speed. They're going hard for line here. It's just diving at those
off
front.
on them.
Can they get it by? Yes, they do. And a little tap, but good shot nonetheless. Is there a pick there, though, for the 2 points? It's risky.
Is there any? Just need to take a look at the house here. It is risky.
I think if you try the pick, though, and it catches, it could jam on the back yellow, which is when that top yellow will come into play. And Mark may just be playing the draw here, though. It might be a little too risky to give up a steal of 1.
He's going to need just a bit better than full 4-foot here for 2 points. So that's a good job there by Stuart Thompson. It's a bit of a pressure shot for him with the potential to give up 3 if he missed. And it will get the job done.
So guaranteed a single. Mark Dacey, third end, tie game, drawing for 2 points. It's a slightly different path than Mark's first. So might be a bit of a guess for the sweepers. They wouldn't have played this too much in practice. It's a little wider out than the draw to the button.
The line looks nice. Sweepers are really dragging this. They're going to have to get it No, and we're going to come up well light there. So we're trading misses on last stones here in this game so far. Missed opportunities for both teams. Might be a little bit of an indication of pressure, perhaps.
You like to think that you're invincible, but a good guess, and the sweeper's a bit of a guess. They seem to know it was a little light. We're going on it early. So a score of 1 for Mark Dacey, leads 2-1. After 3, Thompson will have hammer in the 4th here in the semifinal of the Deloitte Tankard. Thank you ever so much for joining us on Bell 5 TV1. I'm Selena Thompson. Liz Garnett is joining me this evening. This is the last game before the finals, and we've got the women's semifinal underway as well. I'm trying to keep you updated. We're waiting for the score to be posted. In that game, looks like it might have been another steal for Brothers as they're throwing first, and they were up 1.
No, I do believe there is a blue stone in the house there, so
I take that back. Can I get a mulligan?
Yeah, and it was just 1 point for Team McDermott there in the 3rd end, so they're all tied up after 3.
2 very close games here. These teams, this is what they play for. A chance to represent Nova Scotia at the Brier and at the Scotties. Of course, the Brier, March 3rd to 11. It's in Regina, Saskatchewan at the Brandt Centre. Get to wear the Nova Scotia crest. It's the first year for the new format of the Brier and the Scotties, which is in pools. And I didn't know too much about it, but I was learning earlier today about the wild card team. So there will be 16 teams, 14 provinces and territories. And I know that math doesn't necessarily make sense, but you got to include Northern Ontario. And then there's the Team Canada. So for the Brier, that'll be Brad Gushue returning. And then a wild card team, and that is the team who has the next highest CTRS points, who did not qualify or advance out of their province. And my question to John Seitman today was, well, what colors do they wear? Of course, that's the most important question. Oh, there's 2 wild card spots, and they play off pre-event.
Yes, they have to travel to the Brier, and they play in a playoff game for the final berth.
Sounds a lot like the pre-event qualification that was in place for the past few years.
Yes, that everyone seemed to not like.
From Nova Scotia, we didn't love it, but
no, I'm sure
the other teams didn't seem to mind too much. But it'll be nice to see Nova Scotia in the Brier. Of course, Jamie Murphy representing did qualify last year in that pre-qualification, so did have the full Brier experience once again for his 4th time. So I'm still curious to see what jackets the wild cards will wear. I'm just saying. I said, if they come from Manitoba, do they get to wear yellow?
I don't think.
I don't think so either. My vote is for rainbow jackets.
That would be fun. Sounds fun. I'd be down for that.
Absolutely. One of every color. Maybe it'll be an amalgamation of all the crests and flags or something crazy.
Sounds like a bit of a mess.
Yep.
Maybe we shouldn't put you in charge of this.
Nope.
So we're shaping up for another exciting end with what seems like it's going to be a lot of rocks in play here. We got 2 guards up, a corner and a center guard. Mark Dacey has a stone here about top 8 foot. Taylor Ideal was just trying, I believe, to freeze down to that stone and did come up light of the house. So lots of guards. And Mark's going to put up another one.
Stuart will have to decide. Does he want to start to bail early or try and get something going or try and play another one in there? I think with Taylor's coming up light, that really is hurting Team Thompson. Mark's going to ask Steve to actually guard the Yellowstone. It's promotable at this point, but if this is guarded, I think we may see some upweight coming. He's fooled me earlier this week, but with the way they're playing, it's a little bit more conservative this game than normal.
So I think this guard's coming a little bit deeper than they had hoped. It will give Stuart an opportunity to... It will make the bail a little bit easier for him.
Yeah, and it's a good chance to make the peel and actually roll the shooter for a corner the way you you hit this with those stones so close together and a little bit offset. Travis has just on the high side, and it's actually going to make contact. The They're actually expecting to drag this out a little bit. I think Travis did that all on his own, threw it a little wide.
We'll stuff that and leave a center guard.
It's been very sensitive if you are outside at all. I think I see Stuart there indicating what Travis's next shot will be, though. You can hit the blue on the nose maybe and get to the back one. And if not, you just clip the front. So Steve's going to try and guard again.
Heard Andrew call halfway, so that...
They're waiting for the line. Higher's better in this case. You saw the potential for the double peel. So this one curled up just enough. So we'll see another upweight shot here.
Stuart indicating it looks like he wants to get 3 rocks going here if possible.
If everything works out, you could see one of these stones promoted through the rings. Don't know if it will make contact. Probably the angle's a little too thin, but at least try and get a few of these stones moving. I think this one's tracking if it's the spot or just release. So gets the yellow one moving there into the rings. And
hoping to get this back blue out, and it will easily go. So that is a
excellent shot. Very, very good. I think a little wider than Stuart wanted to hit it, but turned out really well. They lost the corner guard, but there's a yellow stone blue shot, but it's vulnerable, that's for sure. You see Mark wants to lose that yellow and I think roll the shooter.
Yep, he indicated to roll the shooter to the side of the house. As we said before, he's going to want to leave his shooter in a position that is going to make a double difficult or impossible for Stuart.
There we see that movement across the line. They just have to wait for it and be patient. Might roll a bit too far, and there it goes out of the rings.
Roll out. So this is going to give Stuart an opportunity to blank this end and hopefully get something going with hammer and generate multiple points, because it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now.
Exactly, and this is another good example. Things didn't shape up quite like Stuart wanted on the first couple shots, and that's sort of what happened in the first end for Mark. Mark took the one, but was actually trying to blank that, and so in this case as well, after leads and getting into second stones, the situation didn't look great, so opting for the blank opportunity here. That stone will just stick around, despite Mark's best efforts to sweep it out. For I have to say, for skips, these two are pretty good sweepers. Stuart coming from front end background and then playing third for Mark, of course, would sweep Andrew and Steve's rocks.
I know Mark has played a lot of mixed doubles in the past 2 years too, which is definitely something that will force you to get your sweeping game on.
Yeah, he can throw his stone, get up, and then sweep it as well. He and Jen Baxter. Jen, of course, into the final tomorrow on the women's side at the Scotties. Plays second for Marianne Arsenault. Mark and Jen are a pretty formidable mixed doubles team. I'd say one of the top teams in Nova Scotia, and had a good run trying to get to the Olympic qualifiers for mixed doubles, and I think they were the first team that didn't make it in, something like that.
One spot short, I do believe.
But certainly something that I expect will continue to do in the future.
So Colton Steele just drawing to the open house here. It's always nice to get a free open draw mid-game to make sure you have your weight down for when there's a little bit more pressure on.
Exactly, and this is the path where Stuart drew in the second end for the second point and threw a little deep. So Colton throwing a nice one there. Sweepers would have had a good time on that and a good visual. This Dacey rink is probably one that relies less on stopwatches than a lot of other teams. Differing opinions on the use of timers and how good it makes you. I think it really just depends on the team. You see the Team Thompson there. You can see all their stopwatches on their pants. You take the time, but sometimes you really do have to use that visual judgment because you never know. Sometimes the player will
use as a tool, not as a crutch.
There you go.
Smart Dacey just hitting this open stone. So I imagine we'll just see an exchange of open hits here to finish off this end.
I don't know if viewers can hear. If you didn't have your volume up enough, there is a microphone in the rink, so we can hear a little bit of what the players are saying. We tend to turn the volume up during timeouts. Stuart just saying, I don't want to get anywhere close to center. He's well aware that that is a spot, especially on this
spot,
turn where it takes off.
So I do call the sweepers on this right away. Looks like they've held it out enough, and they'll just clean the stone for the rest of the way down the sheet.
So there is a little bit of strategy involved. It's not just a nose hit here for Mark. He's going to try and roll his shooter a little bit to try and just move the spot. Stuart just threw in this path. He's going to be throwing for the blank. Just move your different shot, different visual. Maybe get a miss. Mark's still one of the best hitters in the province. Although he won the Brier on very strategic draws.
Yes.
He draw to win. That's still...
That was a very dramatic finish.
I just remember so many people turning the TV off.
Yeah.
I kept it on. I don't know. Didn't have high hopes, but they had a wicked comeback. Stopped Randy Furby's
It's always the worst
run.
feeling as a sports fan when you turn it off too early and something miraculous happens and you miss it.
That happened this week in a couple games. We had some big ends.
Stuart here trying for the blank. The sweepers are right off of this. Get it?
Ooh, gets enough. Ooh. That was a close one. So 4 ends down. Score remains the same. Dacey 2, Thompson 1 here at the Deloitte Tankard semifinal. We're into the 5th. Thompson retains hammer. And Luke Saunders once again will start us off. He really is all about cleaning everything a little more than everybody else.
Not a bad habit, that's
no,
for sure.
It's an excellent habit. Also I think it's part of Luke's pre-shot routine too, and very much most players will have a very defined pre-shot routine and focus on their shots. Whether it's cleaning your stone, some people adjust their glasses, rub their knee. I believe it's Mark that he coughs in his hand or blows in it. I don't know if it's a cough. We'll have to take a look when he goes to throw. I say it's memorable, but I can't remember what it is.
You know, the general motion.
Exactly, and a rub on the knee. I just remember so many times seeing him throw, and that's what it is.
Yeah, it's funny how you end up doing the exact same things.
Well, I curl with you, and you've got a very defined pre-shot routine. You get settled in the hack, clean your rock, and then you let it spin a bit.
Yeah. Tuck my hair behind my ear, even if it's not out from behind my ear in the first place.
Yeah.
It worked.
Well, you do make a lot of shots, so.
Had very solid starts to the ends here.
Exactly. It's funny. Some teams like the top 4 foot. We saw Luke put his first stone top 4 foot in the last end. This one's top 8. A lot of skips are tending to prefer the top 8 stone now because if you're trying to make a series of freezes, it's harder to make them to a stone in the top 8 foot, and gives yourself a little room for if that stone gets chipped around and it won't be behind the tee line so quickly.
So we have Andrew Gibson on this stone, trying to make it curl a little bit more, trying to finish it so they can cover up that center line top 8 rock. And he will get it. There will be a corner of it exposed, but absolutely not enough for Stewart to try any sort of takeout. So he's just going to be freezing here. Taylor has come up a little bit light on a few of these.
This happens to be the side with a little bit more exposed, but it also happens to be the side where the corner guard is. So if anything is run back into the rings or gets hit around, the chance to roll behind the corner is on this side as well.
This one really needs to finish. It is coming up, but he will wick off that stone and just punch it to be slightly exposed on the other side.
That's the hard part about those stones. Taylor wasn't too far. He was only about a foot or two, maybe 2 feet heavy, but that's when you're playing with this level of accuracy and precision. Those are the little things that make the difference. So won't be happy to have his shooter roll open. And like I said, that blue stone is now biting top 4, so it's not behind the tee line still, which is why it was good to have it in the top 8. This one's curling. This is curling more than Taylor's did.
Yep, so
That's
that one
Steve's
will
intern, though.
pop out the other side. Stewart will have the opportunity to get both of those stones moving. Not sure if he'll throw any weight at this. I don't imagine. I think he'll probably just throw about hack weight and try to push those to the back of the house.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see from our camera angle there that from the hack, Travis can't see all of that top blue stone. So chances of curling around it with any kind of weight are slim. So just play the softer weight, move things around. They're not panicked. There's some time in the end. You can always play the peel later. Can't leave it too long, of course. But for now, try and get one of your yellow stones in a good position.
That's a great shot there by Travis Coulter. Well, like I said, he didn't remove any of those blue stones. They are now behind the tee line.
And did an okay job there getting that last bit of curl so that an inside roll is pretty unlikely.
Definitely possible.
They'll be watching for the jam on the back as well. Some teams really like to play that soft weight game where you tap the opponent's stones around and start to use them as a wall. This one's wide.
This one's really hanging out there. It should finish up a bit. Be careful of that jam in the back. Ooh, and it'll just avoid the jam.
And the shooter actually just curled up enough to avoid the jam, and shooter is sticking around on the side.
So Stewart's definitely sure it might be on his mind that the blue stones in the house are building up. He's going to want to...
They're ignorable, but at the same time, they're not. You don't want to have too many blue stones laying around and not have an easy way to score on your last. So they're going to try and use the corner guard now. You're kind of in it at this point.
Yeah.
We are still on second stones. This is the last of the second stones. So halfway through the end. I'd just like to get this one in a good position in front of that back and somewhere in behind that guard as well. I think they'd like this to be in the top 8 foot.
Sweeper's calling back house on this one, so they're definitely going to have to leave it. It will not curl up if it's too heavy. Looks like it's really hanging out there. He does need to catch that back stone.
Starting to move. I would have been a little worried about that guard, but with the extra weight, you just know it's not quite going to get the crazy finish and chip the guard. So they were right to leave it. Made contact with the back stone. Doesn't sit shot, but is partly buried. If Andrew can get this with any any kind of substantial weight, probably just a hack.
Looks like they did call hack weight.
Mark's okay if they clip the back. He will still sit 2 or likely 3 after this. And this is more of that soft weight shot. We've seen a few of those this end. Travis is first. And then Steve's second.
Curling up nicely. He might even be able to get this just on the nose and not lose that back blue. He will avoid the back blue, so Mark Dacey now sitting 4 without last rock.
So here we go. Again, I mentioned earlier, Team Thompson in it for now, so may as well try and get the 2. This is the come around call for Colton Steele.
Yeah, although the house does look a little for Team Thompson right now. A couple good shots and they can easily score multiple points.
Yeah, at some point you do abandon going around that corner guard. You just know that the center's too juicy. If you're not shot, and to get around that corner guard, it's hard to get shot rocks, so you just play around the center at this point. Need to get a front stone
really
and
need
then
to
drag
this
it.
for weight. Looks like they're just getting caught here. Can they drag it far enough? Really needed to get second shot, and they will leave it too long. It's a bit of a sweeping error there.
Yeah, they were waiting for the line, and then the weight really came off. So Dacey sitting 2. And it's hard to put this in a spot, though, to not leave a double and to not leave something for backing. Difficult to get around that top yellow stone and get buried without being behind the tee line. Andrew will try it, though. Try top 4 or even on the button. And this, again, like we said in the other end, really shutting down the scoring area. This one seems to be curling early. Luke's on it. Straight side sweeper. They don't want to touch that yellow and actually promote it to be second shot, but it's heavy.
They will sit for shot stone. They'll now be sitting 3, but as we mentioned before, all behind the tee line. They're kind of setting up a great wall here for Team Thompson.
Yeah, and a chance before, Stewart didn't have a really good chance to hit one of those shot blue stones at the back and stick around, but that's there now.
Looks like he's going to go for this double. He should stick back 4 and sit first and third shot.
It was so tough there for Andrew. You had to be by the yellow. You couldn't tap it and sit open and leave a double, but you ended up leaving a double where it ended up as well.
Yeah, I thought they got caught a little bit on line there. I could hear Luke and Steve communicating that it was heavy and that they did not want to sweep. But
so watch where the shooter goes on this one. And spins up as called. Nice shot from Colton Steele.
It is behind the tee line. Mark's going to have an opportunity here to freeze that back 4 stone. It's not an easy shot, and Stewart definitely, Colton Steele definitely took a good step there in getting his team out of trouble this end.
This is a big shot here for Mark. If he doesn't freeze this on, it'll leave Stewart probably a chance to sit 2 with a good chance to score 2 this end. This is why you see why it was so important for that yellow stone that's half in the top 8, half in the top 12 to actually be a little bit deeper and outcount that side blue. It didn't, unfortunately, but Colton tried to make up for it on his last.
Sweeper's
saying,
calling waits there. Sorry.
do we think the same sometimes?
Never. This looks like it's going to come in here really nicely. It's a really good shot there by Mark.
So Mark got that half buried and above the tee line, which was the critical portion. So are we seeing a run back here? This is an interesting but risky call. It's a little bit of an in-off. We see, I don't know that they're going to play that, but there is a shot off the side.
Yeah, he can. I do believe that Stewart can tap that blue stone just thrown by Mark to the back forefoot, and I think sit shot stone. He'd be pretty exposed though. It's close.
It's a tough
and very
shot.
risky. That shot or that spot seems to be curling a little bit on them.
Yeah,
it looks like they don't quite have it figured out yet.
Trying to leave yourself. They're okay for time to 23 minutes or the fifth end. You want to have 19. 19's halfway. So we watch or we're watching this. Can't see them here. So this is a draw call or a tap, Liz, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, so the run back's an option. They kind of looked at once or twice. I don't mind it. I like clearing the front. I tend to play the more conservative game and
looks like he's playing the
find
tap
myself
here.
saying peels. But I think Stewart's playing a tap on his own, or even a chip, like a split, to actually have those two yellows be second or third and fourth shots, and gives himself two ways to get at that shot blue stone.
Yep. He knows that if he splits this and has a both sides of the sheet, that Mark cannot guard both.
But the way to play this is tight. You can chip the guard and open things up. You can't throw it heavy and be wide. So they're going for line.
On this right away.
We're behind the sheet, but Stewart follows the rock down, and we can't see. They got to get this
Very
by.
close for line. It is by. Wow. That was close.
Shooter didn't end up split. They actually wanted to chip that a little thinner. So it wasn't just to get it by the top one, but actually to split the two yellows. But the way it ended up, I think if Stewart noses that yellow, the blue can go and score two, actually. Mark's well aware of that. And Stewart also has the angle raise on the yellow that was just thrown to pick the blue out. That would be for three. So I think Mark's, it's hard. You got to get to the inside of that yellow to remove it.
Do you really? I don't think that you can nose that and not lose the back yellow, do you think?
Might drag a little bit. Yeah, you could be right. But at least you can score your single because the blue should chip off.
It's an easier shot for one.
Mark's going to try and take that easier of the two shots away and force Stewart into an angle raise on the left-hand side. So he's trying to remove this. I think get a little flop underneath and put some shrapnel in front of the button area. Pin's currently covered by the blue stone. This has been a very interesting end.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be aggressive, and it has been.
Yeah, it took them a couple ends to get going, but here we see most stones in play. Dacey with his last. One more to go from Stuart Thompson. And this is a takeaway shot to take away any potential to score here this end.
A little bit of a disagreement here for line call.
Well, they can't make the shot for Stewart, so they got aggressive on the line. And so we'll leave the raise for the single. Is there a double on the blues?
Double for... There is a double for two, but it is quite risky. It's quite risky.
If you ever hit it wide and roll too far and
double jam that, it could be a steal of three. So Stewart's going to have to decide if he wants to take this on.
Again, I think if you do go for it, it's a good chance to score two. albeit risky. I think you play it tight and know that you only give up one if you hit this on the nose. Tight's not in the vocabulary on this ice so much, though, unless you're at that center line.
Looks like we're going for it, folks. Here we go.
So if everyone at home can see, this looks like a softer with an up weight, the broom would not be outside the edge of the rock. So this is probably going to be a board, maybe a solid board weight double takeout here. Let's see what the line's like. They're on and off. It must be close.
Oh, and he will jam that and give up a steal of one here. Very close. Good try.
They affected that stone. Colton was on and off, didn't mind the line, and then sweeping just held that out a little bit. So after a steal of one, we will have our fifth end break. Dacey leads 3-1. Thompson will have hammer when we come back in the sixth end here on Bell 5 TV1 at the Deloitte Tankard. We'll catch you back in 5.
Yeah. We had it where we wanted it, and then it backed up as soon as I got the boys on it. Yeah. Yeah, it ended up being good. Yeah. I was expecting
it was just on the line, exactly on the line, the whole way down the sheet. As
soon as he swept it back
yeah,
up.
and then it didn't make any movement. That was probably just a big hit. Really fucking close. I'll take a little bit for tradition. I'm liking the way we're throwing them. It's all good. We just gotta get we gotta get our lead bricks a little better position. Get that one. I think it's your second one that's just a little shy.
Except for last time we bounced it out. We just need to get it. We just need to get that second one in a good spot.
Yeah. We'll be real playing.
As per usual.
Especially with he's feisty on every one ball. Basically what we do, just we do all the shit.
Even that's a win.
Yeah.
He pisses a little bit every time he gets hurt.
He's been fighting back there. It's fun. it was my weight was good. I think Colton went right to the collar.
He said as soon as he swept it, it backed up an inch.
Super frustrating because I'm much rather be 2 feet short than that stupid little tap every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it was for the first again. And then I had block block.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining us on Bell 5 TV1. Liz Garnett here with me, Selena Thompson, at the Dartmouth Curling Club for the 2018 Deloitte Tankard, the Nova Scotia Men's Provincial Curling Championships, in partnership with the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. That's the 2018 Nova Scotia Women's Provincial Curling Championships. You see the semifinal for the women over there, McDermott and Brothers. We left off, fifth end break. Good effort, but steal of 1 for Mark Dacey, so he leads Stuart Thompson 3-1 after 5. We're down to a 5-end game, and Team Thompson 2 points. They do have hammer here in 5, or in 6, sorry. I'll get my numbers straight eventually. So in order to get those couple points back and figure out a win, Team Thompson's going to have to continue that aggressive style of play. They had some chances this game. And Dacey has as well. Very similar style of play from these two skips, and no surprise they did play together. Stuart third for Mark a few short years ago. So we see the corner guard. Just put that stone in the center of the house, and now guarding. Although this one looks like it might be over curling. It's going to be a little more of a corner guard than the center guard, so I think we'll have to see Stuart go after this shot stone. It's in a good steal position, and it is. So I think you got to make a play on it.
Yeah, he's looking to just, I think, tap this back, not necessarily out of play, but just once again to the back of the house.
We saw this last end, the 5th end. Travis Coulter, the 2nd for Team Thompson, with a soft weight split on the Dacey Bluestones, and here we have the lead. He's trying the same thing. This one's curling hard. They got to get it by the top, and that'll wick. Actually makes a split, so not the end of the world. 2 corners, 3 if you count the double corner.
So Mark's got to decide here if he wants to try to get rid of some of these corner guards that Stuart can use to his advantage, and how he wants to go about this. Talking about slashing that blue guard into those 2 yellow stones.
The chance of clipping at least one of those yellows is good, but Steve can play this the other way too. I think they're just selecting, it's either the straight peel, but if you hit it real thin, or maybe it's miscommunication. I think Mark's initial inclination was the peel on the other side, which would be like a slash into one of those yellow stones.
That's what I think I saw him signaling for as well.
I mean, if you try it and it nuts on it, it's not so bad anyway. It's closer to a center guard, but they would be a little bit staggered.
And it's pretty thin to get one of those yellows the other way.
I think you go for it. It's a 2-point lead.
Yeah, I agree.
We're still early. And for someone like Mark, I think your initial inclination is usually going to be a good one. so much experience, and you just kind of have the feel for what might work.
Ooh, and Steve Burgess has missed that stone altogether, leaving 3 corner guards at Stuart Thompson's disposal.
So here we've got just a straight come around call. When you have a miss and no center guard in play, the reason Stuart asked Taylor to make a play on that center rock earlier was because there was a little bit of a center guard, but now that there's corners, the come around's a really nice option.
Taylor and Colton really trying to finish this one. Line looks great. They just got by the guard by a small margin. Stuart is a little bit worried about leaving a double here for Mark, I believe. But that does end up above the tee line, buried behind 2 corner guards. Mark is going to have to deal with this. Looks even a bit over buried with that camera angle.
Yeah, that's a really nice shot from Travis. Mark's shot, but it's it's totally exposed. So
it looks like he's
not
going
gonna
to try
be there
to.
forever.
Is he trying to follow this stone down?
I think so. Just a corner freeze. This is a really tough shot. They could still. They're up 2, so it's not a ton of points. You could still peel.
Aggressive call here.
No surprise for these teams.
Looks like this one is a little bit heavy. The sweepers are right off of it. Don't look like they want to touch it.
Ooh, and that's just heavy. It might have been the call for a little bit of an up weight draw. We didn't hear the weight call, but that certainly would have been more.
Looks, yeah, with that weight, he may have been trying to tap that Yellowstone back, but it being over buried, that's a really tough shot. That's 2 big misses there in a row by Steve Burgess, which is really changing the tides here in the 6th end.
So here's a play around the other corner guard. Just going to leave that shot stone right in the middle. If things get real bad for Mark and that's still there, he may have to guard it, which I don't think he's going to want to do. Sweeper's going to go on this one for weight, I think, at this point.
Looks good.
The guard is so high that a stone that got by that close is actually...
Yeah.
I can't even call it over buried. That is likely exposed on the other side. Mark knows that, but he's still going for this shot. There you can see half. But make this little freeze tap. I expect it's a freeze tap. He might have just be calling the straight freeze.
I think
actually.
the way he signaled his broom, I think he is just calling the straight freeze. Here we go with first mate stones.
This one hasn't crossed the line quite as early as Steve's did, but if the weight's more appropriate, it will have more finish. I think the reason Mark's going around these 2 corner guards here is if this shot is made, it'll be very hard for Team Thompson to do anything with it, and this one looks pretty good. Yellow is shot, but it certainly outcounts the stone that Travis just threw. This is an interesting one. I saw that this was there. Play on the center. You're going to make this shot. You have the right person throwing it.
So you think he's trying to come off his own blue, hit it pretty thick with a ton of weight, and hoping to ricochet up and punch that other blue out to at least the 12-foot?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to deal with the shot blue stone because Team Thompson is the yellow stone. So it's quite flat, and it's very hard with the momentum of these rocks. It's very hard to make that roll, but with the weight that Colton throws, even if he can chip something over and maybe expose that blue stone.
They have not been throwing
Helps them.
a lot of upweight shots this week.
This is the spot that curls, but Colton can take some of the curl out of it with the weight he throws.
It's like he's just going to nose hit that.
So that's not so bad. There's not a double on the yellows.
But
Mark could double off the yellow onto his blue, but I think that would leave the shooter exposed and probably chip the blue out, and then Stuart would have a hit to sit 2. So you see there Mark indicating to roll the other way. It's probably okay giving up a 2 given how the beginning of this end went. Doesn't want to chance anything more than that. And of course, if he doesn't roll far enough, then there will be a double on the blues for Colton's second shot. So Andrew just coming down, take a look. It's always important for the person throwing to have a good idea about what they're throwing. He probably thinks that double's pretty juicy. I would tend to defer Mark on anything to do with angles. No offense, Andrew. Mark's pretty good at them.
Yeah, I can definitely see why he's tempted to make a play on that shot stone, but like you said, he'll leave an easier shot for Stuart, even if he makes that perfectly. Stuart will probably have a double to sit 2.
Well, the players, they're really discussing those 2 shots, I think. I'll just give an update on the women's semifinal. Brothers scored 1 in the 4th to take a 2-1 lead, and then McDermott rebounded with 2 in the 5th, and now they are up in the 6th, 3-2 over Brothers. Brothers with hammer. So what are they going to decide on here? We're just anxious to get the game going. They talk about the merits of all shots. And, of course, how to make or miss each one, what the right way to go is. The concern, I think, with the hit and roll over to the left side of the screen as we're looking at it is if you don't roll far enough, you'll leave something 2 blues. So I think Andrew convinced Mark to play it, and Mark still doesn't like it.
So we're taking a timeout here.
At the end of the day, it's hard because the skip is the person that calls the shots, and you tend to want to go with them. But the person throwing has to be convinced that it's the right thing. You end up with a lot of misses when the person throwing
doesn't want to throw the shot you're
committed.
calling.
We've all been there. If you think your skip doesn't have enough ice, you'll toss it wide. You really do have to trust and throw and make it a team shot. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But you don't want to. You don't want to make a play and not have everyone committed to the same thing, because that's how misses happen. So there's a good shot of the foursome. Andrew, Steve, Mark, and newbie Luke.
So it looks like, just while we have a moment here in the women's game, we're here in the 6th end. Jill Brothers about to throw her final stone, facing 4 blue stones, 3 of which are within the 4-foot.
So it's a draw for 1 for Jill Brothers, and she tends to play certainly a more defensive style of game and would opt for a hit over a draw. So
she needs to make the button to score.
So we watch these guys still discuss. I really do think it's the discussion of the 2 shots. Maybe we can hear. I don't think the mics are right over these guys, though. No, and of course the huddle breaks as soon as we turn up the volume. So. And Jill Brothers is successful with her draw right to the button. So tie game in the women's semifinal, Brothers and McDermott.
So here we go with Andrew Gibson's second stone, I believe.
So did they decide on the roll away?
I think I am not sure, to be honest. Looks
Or
like he's
nose?
just going to nose it.
That's not that bad
It's
either.
really not a bad shot. It's not a bad result for Team Dacey. Stewart doesn't really have anything to remove both of those stones.
At the same time, with yellow still being shot, that's the Thompson stone. There is a shot for 2 as of last rocks. Still on mate rocks here. Colton has his last one to throw. And Team Thompson would have taken the time out to discuss the different options, what they would do in any case. But of course, it comes down to it. You still want to talk about what's happening here. Of course, they're going to look for any way to score 3. Are they talking about the run back?
I don't think so. I think they're talking about doubling off on this blue. They will lose their back yellow.
I don't know.
Now they're talking about that. Definitely.
If you throw this rock at the double on the blues, the second blue, the one that's closer, or on the right side, that is buried. If you throw the hit straight and don't play the back, it's really hard to get the nice angle on the second blue. Yeah. And this is an easier way.
All right.
And at least with this shot, you're opening up the 4-foot for the more scoring and bringing that side one into play potentially.
And really the angle on these 2 guards is quite natural for the run back.
With a nose hit, right?
Yeah.
So this will be tight ice.
Because they're slightly staggered, that should send that second yellow guard directly into...
Is it a pocket?
Is it?
Does that look more narrow than a rock? I think it does.
Yes.
I think
my
it's
gosh.
a pocket.
I think it's definitely more narrow than a rock.
So Colton Steele here. Run back. This isn't the big weight that he can throw, but it's certainly weight. Looking for nose.
It's close. And he releases his Yellowstone. Oh, doesn't quite sit in the house. But I think he'll be happy with that result.
Yeah, it leaves Blues sitting 1. But a more open house certainly for last shot. And leaves Mark with, he shot, but if he hits that back stone, probably rolls out and gives up 2 or 3. So I think they has to sit 2 here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
You draw around that center.
That was my first thought.
Guard, though, the risk for leaving a double is high, although it does nut on the. So.
Looks like he might.
He's guarding.
Is he just guarding?
A guard or a tap.
Or a tap
freeze.
is what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, tapping that shot blue stone into the yellow. Colton would have loved the raised stone that's on the right side to be to hang around. Takes it from a potential 3 or 4 to maybe a 2, and if Mark makes a good one here, he's not going to make it easy on this Team Thompson. This is where we are getting some nice movement on the draws, and this was tighter ice than those draws around the corner guard. So this one's curling. Steve's working the line, trying to keep it straight. They don't want to cross the blue out the back. So does that leave any kind of a double on the Blues?
I'm not sure that that top blue stone is out counting the yellow in the back, but looks like Stewart will go for the double here. This is his first stone, so I think he's thinking if he doesn't quite make this double, he will have an opportunity to make up for his mistake. But if he can make this, he does have an opportunity to sit 3 here, and all of his stones would be quite separated.
I think at the end of the day, even if it does jam on the back, there will be 1 blue stone out of the ring. So Mark will have to think about where he places his last stone. It's these yellows that are being left around the house. Here we go. Travis Coulter on the line. Holding the line.
Colton Steele really calling here. Ooh, and they will jam on the back.
So Dacey continues to sit one, but this is where he has to be careful. There's 3 yellow stones in the rings. So the chance for a big multiple score is there if this is not in a good position.
Just coming around this this center-ish guard.
I think so. He could also be playing the hit and roll behind on the top one, but with soft weight. Just because this is the path that Mark just threw. It looks to be tight ice for the draw. I'm not sure. I didn't see the indication.
Yeah, I think you are right now.
But I guess I'll call it a defensive and aggressive call, which is really every curling shot. Some are purely defensive, I suppose, peels. But so here's a hit on the top yellow, trying to roll the shooter, although this one is not curling yet. Has to get to that 4-foot line to even make contact with the yellow.
Off. So that's a big miss there by Mark Dacey. I'm not sure if he just set that or if it just got caught on the center line.
Well, it was a lot of ice, and we've said that with weight, things are staying straight.
For sure, a little extra weight.
So this is a hit for 3, and this is where, as I mentioned before, great opportunity for 3, where Colton would have loved that side yellow to actually be in, but you can see this one's wide open. It'll be a soft weight hit. You don't have to play a ton of weight here. Chance for Stuart Thompson on his last in the 6 to score in 6 and to take a lead for the first time this game.
Sweeper's calling right off for line here. Does need to remove this blue stone from the rings.
And soft enough that does that blue stick around? It looks good for 3.
Just barely sticks around. He definitely threw that one a little bit wide, and I think he's lucky to get out of that with a 3. But
so a 4-3 lead now after 6. All right, folks. I don't know if you could hear through our mics. There's a big yell upstairs as fans for both teams, and likely fans for the women's game too. Just watching, everyone's watching both games. We've got 2 very tight games out here. Tie game on the women's side, 3-3. McDermott with hammer though, and in our case, a 4-3 game. Dacey down 1 with hammer. And will it be more of the same, more aggressive play from both teams? They're probably both feeling pretty good about their ability to make shots on this ice. We've seen some fantastic shots so far. And we're really pleased to bring you coverage of this full event, the Deloitte Tankard, the 2018 Nova Scotia Men's Curling Championships on Bell 5 TV1. We're at the Dartmouth Curling Club. If you'd like to come see the finals tomorrow, you got to watch the end of this game to find out who's playing in it. We know one team, that's Jamie Murphy, defending champion. Actually, 2 in a row defending champion. And one of these 2 men's teams here. The top 3 men's teams all year, according to CTRS points. And they are the teams in the final and the final. So Team Thompson would love to force Dacey here, and that's the reason for the call for the tight guard. We've seen in most ends the team without hammer going in and then a corner guard going up. But in this case, in order to force, you don't want Dacey to hit out the end if you're Team Thompson. So the center guard was the call, and then the come around.
It's like Luke's going to come up a bit light on that one. He definitely wanted to be in the house around that center guard. Didn't quite make it there. So Taylor's going to have a big chance here to come around these now 2 center guards. Looking a bit wide, though.
This is a spot in the sheet where we have seen some really good finish with the come-arounds.
So that one will finish up for them quite nicely. It is about half exposed here on the center line, but top 4 rock. Looks like Mark Dacey is going to attempt to come down here with about backline weight and just punch this either through the rings or to the back of the house.
Yeah, he's asking Luke just to play down to it. And again, I mentioned Mark would be really happy to get out of this end with a blank. So the play is going to be into the rings here. He'll take an easy 2 if it shows up. So they're not just going to hit. And of course, with the free guard zone, we haven't talked about that yet, but they cannot guard. This one is all over it, though. And with the added weight that was called, it's probably going to promote this stone into the rings. They let it go in order to cross the face.
So that one will just catch the top of the 12-foot there.
And that was just light from Luke. That was a tap call, and it would have only really come to the shot zone. So I think just light and really does pick up the curl as we are seeing on that right-hander's in-turn path.
Big opportunity here for the Stuart Thompson team. He's going to want to put up center guard. He's got a very good rock here on the top 4. He's going to want to protect that for as long as he can. A steal here for Team Thompson would be pretty big.
They're okay with a force, and I always find it interesting. A force and a steal are played very similarly. Mm-hmm. You're limiting the other stones the team has in play with a force, and with a steal you're often doing similar but trying to get yours in a really good position a little more. But in this case, a center guard and 2 stones behind, only opposed of the second shot. So I think it's time. Mark's going to try and bail. He can see this stone. I'd be almost tempted. I keep saying this to peel or run the center back.
Not going to happen with teams, it looks like, Selena.
They don't like it. They are aggressive. They're not defensive.
Makes it interesting for us, so I'm not going to complain too much. Sweepers right off this stone once again. It's close. It's really finishing here.
That's that nice path. They get the yellow out the back. One will hang on the side, so that's the force rock. Really close to getting 2 there for Steve, though.
Yeah, and a bit unlucky that his shooter didn't quite roll into the rings. It's just about an inch outside of the rings.
Out front, Travis Coulter's just going to come around. Sit 2 would be ideal here for the force. They're not worried about stealing. We mentioned scoring in 6 was a big deal for this Team Thompson rink. And most teams would say they like to score in the even ends in the second half of the game. So that would be 6, 8, and 10. That means you get 3 hammers to 2. And if you force in 7, you get hammer in 8. So tie game with 3 ends and 2 of those with hammer. That
looks like the Sweepers need to drag this one.
It's the ideal position for Team Thompson. They are working this.
Really going hard on it.
They got it by. Where can they drag it?
Definitely, yeah. I thought I didn't think they were going to quite get that to the top 4 foot, but
I thought that was a tight stone. I have been hearing too that it's very good ice for dragging a rock. Some of the sweepers joking that they're not very good sweepers and it makes them look good. These guys certainly are good sweepers. So 4 feet not out of the question. That might have been a tight rock to the rings, but when it was released. But that is what we call sweeper's weight. So here's the run back call. Steve lot of these. Very, very good thrower. Accurate.
Nice shot there by Steve Burgess. Very good.
They let that go a little bit. Might have clipped the other yellow
Almost,
too.
yeah.
You don't want to do that on that center line though. But the thrown rock stays out front. So Colton Steele now, third rocks, has a chance to make the same draw.
Well, there are still guards. Mark will be happy that they are at least blue in color. So if he needs to run something back later in this end, he'll be.
And by later, you mean like next shot, right?
Sure, yeah.
Or anytime, I know. By definition, it is later in the end.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Can you tell we curl together, folks? So the line's looking nice on this one. They can't overbury this one like they did Travis's. They don't have the ability to have all those guards, but this one will stop top 8 foot, and it's buried behind that center guard, that blue stone that Steve threw and was the raise. There you see.
Looks like Mark thinks he may be able to come through this port here.
I think it's the run back, though. These two skips call shots very similarly. Do you think he's trying to come through the port and make the roll? I think it's the run back and roll. They just are too lazy to walk up and.
Yeah, that's.
This is
through the port.
Oh my goodness! Once it grabs that line, it will cross. Run back is equally. I would give it 50-50. Would play those two shots.
This is a good opportunity for him, though, if he makes this really nicely, rolls behind those two blue corner guards.
This is a very soft weight shot, though.
This one's really curling. I think it is going to be by the front. Yeah, it is by the front.
And a beautiful shot. That's Andrew Gibson.
And he will sit shot stone behind two corner guards. That is a pistol.
I don't think that could have been made. I know that could not have been made any better.
No.
Yellowstone exposed, double guarded. And this is where I was saying Mark may want to blank, but if he gets a chance for the two, he'll go for that as well.
Oh boy.
Colton's eyeing the run back. It is, the angles become simple when it's straight back. You know exactly where you have to hit the top stone. It just becomes a matter of execution. And that's what we see at the Brier and Grand Slam level events, is the teams up in the weight and throwing these run backs with deadly accuracy. And you just take any guesswork out of it.
Oh, no.
So close.
And he is going to leave another blue up, biting the rings on the top 12 foot. So this could be bringing a big end into play here for Team Dacey.
This is why teams don't always want to blank these seventh ends. We say, oh, you want to have hammer in 6, 8, and 10, but if you get a chance for a few in an odd, you certainly would take that. So once this stone's hit, I think they'll be looking for a roll behind the guard. There's probably going to be a double from the top stone. The only thing is there's a jam on the side as well.
Yep, they will be sitting 3 here with hammer following this stone, as long as Andrew can manage to stick in the house here. This one's really hanging out there. Should finish up.
They're going to roll away. And that'll work. Is it a no for the double, or do you play the cross house?
I think he has the option to hit this on the center line side, maybe clip the back one and roll towards the stone that is buried on the 4 foot.
Yeah, you see that indication there. It's hard to see the angles just because things look a little bit 2D. But if you play this double, does the blue in front of that's just nibbling the top there, does that ricochet off the side that's not in and into the back and get a couple gone? The only thing with playing the double on the the long angle is you have to play it thick enough to go onto the top of that blue stone that is shot. Otherwise, it might go into the side of the yellow, and that might be a bit of a disaster. So this will be a very careful shot. We are down to skip stones here. So facing 3. Stewart just scored 3. To protect against a big end here for Team Dacey.
First skip stones here in 7th.
And this has seemingly come out of nowhere with a beautiful
Yeah.
shot from Andrew Gibson on his first and a nice hit and roll on his second.
And a very, very close miss by Colton Steele.
So I don't think they're making the double, but they'll roll the shooter and go real hard on that back blue. Thrown stone out of the rings, but 3, I don't want to say 3 is not in play anymore. It certainly is, but a little less dangerous than a few seconds ago.
Didn't quite get that back stone out of the house, but I think it'd be tough to not be happy with that result.
Yeah, a little thinner would have done that, I think. But I don't think I would have made that shot. It's really easy to criticize from behind the glass. Here can attest.
Here's Mark Dacey with his first in this 7th end, trying to come around the center guard to sit 2 with hammer.
Steve's on this hard for line. They know this finishes. Got to keep it straight, and then if it's heavy, it's actually going to finish too much and might leave a hit in the center of the rings, and hopefully not a double. What do you think? It's
about third open. It definitely is accessible through that port. It's just whether Stewart wants to take that on.
The risk, of course, is not making this shot through the port and giving up 3, which would be unacceptable given the fact that he just made a shot to protect against 3. You can hit the open stone and know you're going to have hammer in 8. And that looks like what the call is here. And Mark will have an open hit or a draw 4-2. But I think Team Thompson will take that.
Oh, they're thinking about it.
Does the front end like the
They're talking about it.
tougher shot?
That is in the center line spot that can be a little bit tricky with extra curl.
Stewart tends to go for these kind of
I
shots. We
know,
saw Andrew
I
play it
know.
earlier too, so he's going to take a second look, but this is a smart way to do it. Go down, talk about it again. Don't make the decision in the hack. Sometimes it looks a lot better from the other end as well. And I think he's seeing that there is the thin double that he could play with weight. If you know you're giving up 2, you can play this shot with a little bit of weight. Or you can play it with the down weight and make the roll across. I think those are 2 potential. So we've changed the shot.
Okay.
Probably looks pretty good from the hack. We're right above the hack, so Stewart's throwing from the glass side of things, and we're upstairs on the second floor of the Dartmouth Curling Club. There is a port. We've seen a shot made through here earlier this end, so he's going for it. So this is a soft weight hit and roll to protect against 2 points here. So they have to keep and not to promote this blue stone into the rings and give a 3rd point.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So that is disaster. So 3. This is a draw 4-4 if the camera doesn't lie. through the soft weight. Obviously, it was a similar shot to what Andrew Gibson played earlier and took sweepers not on it. The line call was not desperate. We've seen a couple rocks really jump across that center line. So Mark throwing for 4 here. And he had backing all day, could come into his own stone, had the whole rings to come to, so that will be 4 on the board. Team Dacey, after giving up a disappointing 3 in the 6th end, takes 4 in the 7th. They will lead 7-4, and some of this aggressive play coming out here. And a very unfortunate miss there. So down 3. Dacey will be up first. This will be Luke Saunders once again leading us off. And in the women's game, we did have a tie game after 6. It was all tied at 3. McDermott with hammer scored 2 in the 7th. They're a little further ahead of us there on skip stones in the 8th, so we should have an update for you shortly. In points, you really don't need guards, so sweeper's working hard to put this one in the rings. Luke might have thrown that a little light, but Andrew and Steve quick to pick up and sweep end to end to make sure that's in the rings. And no doubt we'll see a corner guard here from Team Thompson. So Taylor Ardeal putting the corner guard up. It's really hard. That was a big surprise on that last shot, and it is hard to recover as a team, but you have to put your game pants on. I think our co-pilot on sheet D would say. Dan Hobson, I think he calls the peel pants. So just settle down, make your shots, get a couple points, and Team Dacey here will be looking to play pretty defensive. Up 3, they're going to the second they can. So they don't want this one to be light. They didn't need a guard. So they're actually coming around the first stone that Luke threw. And then we'll see a second corner guard from Taylor Ardeal. Ideally, these 2 stones are even in the guard zone. Otherwise, a double peel could be in play. And if they're not going to be even, as far apart as possible.
How you doing?
So Steve may have a go at the double peel here. Sometimes the skip will elect to just ask for the peel on the lower stone so that there would be no double and it doesn't get in the thrower's mind. Mark called the sweep before that was out of Steve's hand. I think he had a chance to adjust. And into the side, but it will nut on the side, so corner guard still stands out front. It's blue in color. But that will make it a difference here. We're going to look for a wall here for Team Thompson. Just get things set up. Use those blue stones to their advantage. And we do have the score. We'll just make a change on there. It is, in fact, 7-4. Thanks, Chuck. So a little tap and the roll behind the guard. Maybe rolled a little too far, but I don't know if Mark will have a go at the stone in the rings. Might actually play the run at it. You can achieve the peel, the run, and lose your shooter all in one. And if you play a hit on the yellow, you risk running it into the stones on the 4-foot. So that's the call here. Steve Burgess on his second. And that's made very nicely. So you use what you have here, this defensive ability. I say Team Dacey is quite an aggressive team, but once they're up a few points, especially this late in the game, the defense will come out, and they are a very good hitting team. So it looks like another guard here, corner guard. Just have to keep things busy out front and protect the situation in the rings. Some peels will be made, and then the play will be brought into the rings. You just can't do it too early in the end and give the upweight ability of Team Dacey a chance to clear things out. Team Thompson doesn't really want to blank this end. They got to get a couple points in this end or 9. There's the peel from Andrew Gibson. So are we going to see one more guard? Corner guard. We're on to mate stones. Sweepers will just make sure this is over the hog line. And another good one there from Colton. They could switch it up and put a guard on the other side, but I think Stuart just realizes that Dacey's team probably isn't going to miss these peels, so putting them back up. You have to hit a rock pretty thick to not roll the shooter out with the type of weight that is being thrown here. So now on third stones, we're going to be making that move into the rings. Use those blue stones as protection. It's like a reverse guard. Your yellow stone can't be removed if it will be blocked by the blue stones. Top 4 is the weight call from the sweepers, which would be good weight. Might be a little light. Might have been a back 4 call, so they're going for line. And that one will stop just short of the second shot stone, so Mark will just pick this one out. I don't think he'd be too upset if the blues actually went as well. They wanted to keep that one on the center line side in order to prevent it from being removed in either direction, and actually wanted a little bit of a tap on the blue, I think. And there was a single scored over in the women's game in the Scotties semifinal. Team Brothers scored a single. They still trail, though, 5-4. Playing 9, McDermott has hammer. So on to skip stones here on our sheet. Up weight hit here. Something happened out there. Hope you had your volume turned down. I think a couple players were colliding and maybe running into the neighboring sheet. So one remains though, so you can freeze. We just saw Mark's upweight, so it's really important for Stuart that this stone is frozen right on the nose of the blue Dacey stone. Sweepers just watched Colton stone down, so they should have a pretty good idea about the weight here.
Mine definitely looks better on this one.
Now they're just going to get it there. Let's see what they can do with this. And just came up 2 inches light, and it's hard to believe that that might be just a little too light. Mark's going to have to make sure. I think he's going to play the peel. I can't imagine up 3 he would guard. Oh, my. And he may also. He's just going to prove me wrong every time. He plays that upweight so well, and I think I know why. Do you think, Liz, it's because it is on that center line and he could risk over and not getting the yellow out? Yeah. Really good attempt from Stuart, and so Mark's just going to say, well, I'm shot. I'll just guard, and you have to make a good shot for the 2. Do you see this every so often? He doesn't play this that often, which is why I would have probably bet against it. But
it might be a little bit dependent on the ice right now, too. There aren't that upweight shots happening down the center line, as you said.
And we've just seen a couple over curl. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, maybe I would have changed my opinion of what to do, but especially given that one is just a few inches light. But this is a tricky shot here, trying to lock things down. It's coming right down to the face of it. So the closer that is to the yellow stone, the harder it is to play around and actually move. So it will be a shot here for Stuart. He can actually roll his shooter into the rings. Mark didn't get into the 12-foot. He wanted it a tight guard, but not. So this is going to be upweight here. And we're going to see the upweight on the line.
He would never. Oh, no, that's much more buried than it looked from that last angle. This is about all that Stuart has. Yeah, there might have been, if the blue stone hadn't curled as much, there might have been an in-turn play on the yellow. But I think if you nose this with lots of weight, blue goes into yellow into blue. That back blue will be gone. The shooter should roll onto the rings, and this raised stone should fly out the side. But this looks like a softer weight than I thought. Yeah, this is surprising. This
might just be for a single.
Really bend across the center. A little bit of disagreement on line call here. Oh, he'll get one. Yeah, I think that's all he was going for there.
They were calling the roll to the side, but I think you have to play more weight in order to get the blue stone that was raised to go out the side. So it looks like maybe the play with that soft weight was just for the single.
I think it was.
Being a little wary of that center line, just like Mark was. So good shot there from Stuart to take the single. So they'll still trail 7-5. Dacey leading with hammer, playing the 9th.
Dacey up 2 points. Probably feeling a little bit comfortable right now, but definitely, as we saw in the women's tiebreaker earlier.
On this sheet, I might add.
A 2-point lead with 2 ends to go, even though you have hammer, is not necessarily safe.
So Team Thompson, they're going to have to put the work in here. They need a couple center guards here from Lead Taylor. Taylor's not Nova Scotia native. He's from Scotia, a.k.a. Okotoks, Alberta. He sent that to me. I didn't make that up.
Yeah, it's Okotoks backwards, which...
I guess I never explained that every other time I said it.
Yeah, I know these guys personally, and I know they like to just say all their names backwards and do weird things like that, so...
The 2014 Alberta Junior Provincial Champion. They won bronze at Nationals. So nice experience there. Stuart with Actually, with Luke Saunders, lead for Dacey, they were third the year before at Nationals. Lots of junior experience. And young players moving up the ranks in this provincials. It's nice to see.
This one's looking a little bit hot.
Yeah, this was, I think, the tick call, but it's nowhere near the stone. It's getting its final movement now.
Nope. Yep.
Stewart doesn't mind. He wasn't sweeping that. He didn't mind if that one sticks around. And Mark seems to not mind either. So maybe both skips eyeing the same thing. Stewart using it as backing, of course. And Mark saying, well, that's my, second point if I need it to be. But I have a feeling there's going to be a few other stones around this center line. Now the second center guard put up here. The formula for a steal when the other team knows you're trying to steal is pretty simple. 2 center guards and then some come-arounds.
Does look like
heavy out of his hand, so sweepers knew, and they could sweep it early, get around the guard. This one's going to come into the rings. They don't want it too deep in the rings.
Ooh,
and
I think
maybe
it might
not.
stay out front, actually. Hard to tell with this camera angle. It's close.
Yeah, Mark would hit that if he could.
Yeah.
So he's going to leave it alone and ask Luke for the come around here.
So Taylor's done his job here. Two center guards staggered. Might have liked a little bit more separation.
Yeah, it's hard when the first one ends up in the middle. You got to have your lead then make a very good tight guard or a very good high guard to leave them separated. I don't know the distance between the top of the 12-foot and the hog lines. Probably 17 feet. So it looks, or maybe it's 12.
I don't know. I feel like that's something
Someone text me.
we should know. Yeah.
I'll bring out the old Google.
Stewart's putting some thought into this. I think he thought about coming around everything on the intern side, but it looks like he's going to tap that center line blue to the back of the house and try to generate some things that might end up being catchers later on in the end.
And in case anyone else was wondering, I don't know the validity of this source, but it's 21 feet from the hog to the tee, and if you consider the fact that half of the rings are 6,
wow,
that does 15 feet.
Good
so
guess.
Very good guess.
This one's looking like it's tracking a little bit wide. Should come back if he has the right weight here. They're just trying to tap this blue stone to the back of the house.
Again, this is the wall scenario. And they did get a lot of curl, but Colton gets that one by, and a nice little tap here. So 3 yellow stones out front in the control zone. Well, 2 of them really in the control zone, right in front of the rings. And now we're on to second stones for Team Dacey, and they can start to peel. That is one big advantage of not having hammer is you get the 2 guards, which is why in an earlier game we were talking about the 5 rock rule, which I believe is being introduced next year into regulation play.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll actually protect the team with hammer to give them 2 guards before any peels can be made. But we'll still have that tick shot.
Steve's going to be trying to get lots of granite moving here. Really nice shots here. Steve had 2 misses in a row, and since then he has seemed to be on fire.
Yeah, I think he set mentality, miss one, make one. And Steve says, well, I missed 2, so I got to make the rest. He's playing very well. That's that deadly accuracy we were referring to earlier. It can be very frustrating. It's down and just have the other team able to move or remove 2 of your stones with 1 shot, which is why that little tap was so important there from Travis, is to move those blue stones off the 4-foot area.
Travis just going to put up another guard here. They won't quite be on the center line, but quite a bit of separation there. Double peel.
The double peel's there. It might angle though.
I think
it
he
would
is
leave
just
a
playing the
center guard
single.
out if
Yeah.
you made the double peel.
He could roll to the corner guard side, but there's also risk with those back blues.
So
Might
a
have
corner
jinxed him
left
there.
and spun the second yellow or the raised yellow into the rings. Those aren't effective guards for Team Thompson
No.
in terms of stealing. So a little bit of thinking here, but they do
Really
have
isn't a
some time
terrible
on the
result.
clock. 6 minutes and 6.5 for Team Thompson and 5 3/4 for Dacey. And that's thinking time, not total time.
Thinking about freezing on this back 8 stone.
Yeah, I still think it might be a bit too early for
I
that.
agree. I think that you'd need to. Would you be coming around this guard?
You could come around.
Yeah.
And then if you peel or try the run back on that and it's
Hope that it
missed,
jams.
then you can put up a center guard and then maybe the stone in the rings is hit or the center guard's hit. At very least, you can eventually have one buried. So they're not playing the out turn, which a lot of people would play here. This is a new path, so it's going to be a bit difficult for Colton to gauge the weight. Probably a bit fresh, so hopefully you didn't give it too much extra. Fresh on this ice would mean it's probably going to go a little faster. They're going to need this to finish. It's by the guard by a lot,
Wow, yeah,
but it
that
will get some
really-
good finish here.
Really hung out there.
That's what they say when you the good stuff, though, is you get that nice gliding path. And they're testing it out as well. If they could have tucked a piece of that and Mark ever went after it, it could jam on the back. And likewise, it is a fairly straight path, and the jam is still possible, too.
Yeah, if Mark Dacey out even hitting this a little bit wide, there's a definite jam possibility.
So I think Andrew will probably, I don't think he wants to play this too soft, but you want to try and get to the nose, like Mark said. I think Andrew can see nose.
I thought I heard them say just through. Quite soft.
That is soft weight. But they're not taking a chance with the straight path and jamming and giving Team
Should
Thompson a
finish up
chance for
here.
guards.
Really needs to finish, and here it goes. Wow, it gets great finish that spot. So he'll just nose that. Or get by those back blues. Barely. So this is with blue sitting 3 with hammer here, up 2. This is a little bit of a do or die situation for Team Thompson.
Yeah, and I think they're playing it that way, of course. I mean, if you don't steal here and you try and steal 2 and 10, we did see the steal of 2 and 10 in the Breen brothers game earlier, but you can't count on that. So you really do need to play for the steal here. And it's not just 2 steals in a row. You tie it up if you steal in 9 and 10, and then you also have to steal in 11.
So it looks like he's not going to try to remove that blue shooter from Andrew Gibson. He's going to come around the outturn side across the center line, try to tuck behind that lone guard. Doesn't look heavy.
And this is just grabbing that center line early. So they are on the guard. Rolls for a center. It's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see Mark. I was going to say I would play the peel.
He's definitely looking at.
But there's 2 ways, you know, out turn or in turn way you have a chance of jamming. On that yellow on the right-hand side, if you play this in turn, or on the blue on the left-hand side if you play the out turn. The blue is now on the right.
I think this in turn is definitely a lower risk.
Certainly, you're not jamming the thrown stone into the middle of the ring, so I think this is a smart call. And it's easier to go over the top of the yellow as well. So Andrew Gibson on his second shot. We're down to skip stones after this. Just needs a piece of it. They were thinking they could hit it a little thicker and catch their own blue and get rid of everything out front, because that Stewart's next shot is to actually use the guards that are in play. So he watched Colton's just come down. We'll adjust the broom accordingly. So looking for a draw. And this will be nice if made. Mark will obviously have a slash on the left-hand side of the screen on his own blue stone. But like we said before, that's that straight path that really doesn't finish unless it has the down weight. But for Team Thompson, not much of a choice here. This is the best chance they have to steal.
Looks like this one might be a little bit hot. They need this to stick for shot stone. And it will.
And it will. It will. It's buried.
Mark definitely has the option of using his blue to raise that onto the yellow, but I don't think that he feels that is necessary, which I would agree with.
No, this is a much better path
Yeah.
for the curl.
And that stone looks to be almost half open. Mark seems to have figured out the center line nicely with his line calls, so.
And it may just be a difference in throws, too, with adjusting to the ice conditions, maybe trying to get a bit more curl out of their stones. We have seen a bit more curl from the Thompson rink. I'll just also, as Mark's getting prepared to throw, I didn't see how it materialized, but McDermott stole 2 on Jill Brothers.
No, they just got 2
Oh,
with
sorry,
hammer.
they got 2 with hammer, and I wasn't looking at the score. So they are up 7-4, playing the 10th end. Andrew's saying clean, and then oh no,
Should
but
finish up
It's a
nicely,
nice
though.
path to finish here, and looks like he'll just get the piece he needs.
So, yeah, as I said.
Same shot for Stewart, I think. He could
no,
come to the
he's-
back. He could go around the same side.
He can come to these back stones and sit for shot. He would be giving Mark a draw with backing for one, which 1 point being down 3 with hammer. Not the end of the world, definitely not ideal. I think he's going to want to steal here. And if he isn't perfect, as we can see, there's 4 blue stones in the house. If he gives Mark any sort of shot for multiple points, it's pretty much game over here.
Absolutely, and this is where it comes down to, what are you playing for? You're playing for the force, and go for 3 and 10, not unheard of. Or you're really playing for the steal and know that if you miss, we're getting down in time, so they're going to call a timeout. If you miss, this is it on the game. So that's the decision that the team makes here. Have they used one timeout? Dacey has used one, but I think this is their.
I believe so as well.
So with 4 minutes on the clock, they should be good to go. This is Stewart's last stone, so we'll have
Yeah,
the remainder of the 90 seconds.
I do think that he has to use this yellow stone out front to protect himself. He talked about going around, throwing the out turn down line, trying to come around this blue guard, tucking behind the blue on the top 8 foot, but I think that's just way too accessible for Mark to raise that back onto
You
the
give
yellow.
Mark the same shot twice, and he's going to make it better the second time, even if you make yours better. So I do agree. My initial inclination was to say, oh, make the same, you got to steal, but down 3, it's doable.
So
And
this
you never
is,
know, you could get a miss on the draw.
big time pressure here for Stuart Thompson. As I said before, this is a do or die shot here in the provincial semifinal.
So sweepers are saying back 4. They do have the backing. This one's starting to curl.
Looks like they may have lost this already. I
And
wonder
that's
if that.
deadly center line on the last rock of Stewart. So they're just promoting this to try and sit something. But
Do you think there's a possibility that stone is curling a bit more? They've gotten caught on that twice. Both of these shots, they were not sweeping his hand, and those just took off on him.
he's thrown a lot of hits in this game.
Yeah.
and maybe not notice as much on the hits, or just maybe something on the bottom of the rock. You hate to start to blame, but that looked very good out of his hand, and the sweepers liked it, and they did watch all of the draws so far go down. So you have to think that they would have had a good handle on that. So this is an open draw for what I'll call Mark's not going to play the same path, just in case. But regardless, sitting 3.
Open draw
for 4, and this will be the game. I think regardless of where this rock ends up.
Yeah. Stewart shaking hands before this stone even comes to rest.
So Mark will make it 4 be an 11-5 victory. Mark Dacey making the final. That'll be tomorrow, 9 a.m. against Jamie Murphy. Good effort there, Team Thompson, and some disastrous things here going away from the boards with that center line.
Yep.
It will be really unfortunate for that team, but good job, Team Dacey.
They will take on Jamie Murphy 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
in the final for a spot at the Briar.
You can catch that here on Bell 5 TV 1. And switch on over to the other feed. You can catch the end of the 10th end in the women's game and the Scotties. And on behalf of everyone here, thank you for joining us. Liz Garnett, thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm Selena Thompson, signing off for now. See you at 9 tomorrow morning.